One of the lies about loneliness is that you're the only one. Having gone through 2 heart attacks, you may have heard it from people when you feel like the floor has been taken from under you. Leadership is not a input output. If I'm good to people, then so they're all gonna be good to me. No, you need to pause. Even when things are going great, when things are not going great, there needs to be that pause. There needs to be a systems check of everything.
Fresh insights into what it means to lead today.
I thank you for having me, Michael. Oh my goodness, that's such a good question. I would say I wish it would have been earlier in life, but really it wasn't. I would say it's almost like an aha lately moment, and I would say in the latter part, maybe after you turn 40, you kind of get something like, ooh. It's okay, but no, I would say I think it was through the mistakes. It's like a pendulum. You might start like I started all idealistic, all one, like yes, we can change the world. It went all to one side, like all hard old people, and then things didn't quite work out. Trust was broken, so then I went all the way to the other side to like be very rigid, strategic, like memos, process systems, because that's what really gave the thing, um, get it done, and then realize that neither way worked for me, and what it was a moment as I was leading, as I was, we had gotten really a relative level of success, awards in our organization, but yet I was losing my people. I was losing the talent. I felt like I was getting probably the greatest amount of success for organization, meaning profit wise, and at the same time I felt so disconnected from the very people that I was serving with, and it was this emptiness, that as a leader sometimes, you hear that, well, people, leaders lead alone, leaders are on the top of the mountain, they, you just, there's isolation with leadership. That's not right. That's, I started feeling like that's not correct. And you can't be leading people and be an island unto yourself. You can't be leading people and you're so up there that you don't even know what's going on in with the people, what they're, who they are, what they're working. So for me, it was a realization that I was getting success. We were hitting our benchmarks business wise. Things were looking good. They were looking promising. We had surpassed a lot of things. Family felt okay, but yet at the same time, I was tired, I was exhausted, and I just felt really alone. And at that time is when I realized that really in fulfillment was a word that I had heard before. I mean, I used it, like it wasn't like unfamiliar to me. But I think it was at that moment that I realized I'm not being fulfilled in the very thing that I spend most of my day with.
Hey, just a second from the episode. to please, if you're liking what you're hearing so far, hit that subscribe button down there and like the heck out of this video so you get more like this and we can bring you more of what you love. Thanks. Now back to the show.
Most of my time, given my energy, my effort, my heart, and yet I'm not feeling fulfilled. And that's when I realized that I was missing that link, really, that embracing of who I was as a leader, because I was trying to be like somebody else. I was trying to be like what was expected from me. And I had forgotten the very basics. And
Hey,
I had
just a
this
second from the
idea of
episode.
what was
To
expected as a
please, if you're
CEO
liking what you're
versus
hearing so
really
far,
embracing
hit that subscribe
the
button down there and
servanthood, the
like the heck out of
grace,
this video
everything that had
so you
even
get
gotten
more
me
like
to that
this and we
opportunity
can
to
bring
be at
you
the
more
table.
of what you love.
And it was at that moment
Thanks.
that I'm like,
Now back to the show.
just like one decision can lead you one way, one decision can lead you the other way. So I decided to be intentional and learn. I had to learn in a sense. It took me back to learning to be a human, getting in touch with my humanness and honoring the humanity that was along with me and the humanity that we served. And that's what changed.
Hey, just a second. To please, you're hearing so far, hit out of this video and we can bring you more of what's now back to the show.
Yeah.
The heck out of this video
Yep.
and we can bring you more of what.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
The heck out of this video and we can bring you more of what.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's true. So a couple of things what you mentioned. I mean, loneliness is a real thing, and you're right. Over 70% of the executives feel lonely. Even more if you're talking about the senior line manager, they're the ones that are having to receive the orders and then execute them, and they're super lonely. I mean, if you talk about loneliness, like they don't have feel they're caught in the middle, right? It's like a child between two divorced parents almost, like which way do you go? Like you gotta keep both happy in a sense. But and it is a real loneliness is an epidemic. And for those of you that are listening, you don't have to be in an executive or CEO. It's a real thing, and we need to one is it doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. And one of the lies about loneliness is that you're the only one. Again, like you're the only one who's going through this or feeling like this. No, it's a real thing. It doesn't matter what level in leadership you're in. It it happens. I mean, again, that was one of the things that I faced. And sometimes it's worth as a badge of honor because, oh, well, that means only I understand, only I do. So guess what? I get to make the decisions because only I really know what's best for everybody. And then that, what does that mean? You become an elitist. You become just yes, and not only an executive but an exclusive. So this is exclusivity to that, and that's a dangerous place to play in for anything, in relationships and business. So what happened to me? So as I mentioned, I did go through that. I did go through that period of loneliness where we're getting good. Things were working out, but then I had my team leaving, and then I come to the realization that I'm not being fulfilled. The good thing is that for those of you that are feeling perhaps lonely or unfulfilled, good news is that that means you know what fulfillment feels like, and you know what not being alone feels like, because otherwise you wouldn't be missing it, right? So that's the good news. The good news is that you understand what it feels like to be in company, to to experience not the opposite of loneliness. That's why you miss it. So that's the good news. So it's not like, oh, I never experienced. I know the reason why you miss it is because you know it's there, you know, it's attainable for you. That's the frustration. And that was a frustration with me. It was when I stopped being just frustrated and like, this is the understanding that leadership starts with me first. If I wanted to be that place, which I did, I wanted to lead my people well. I was committed. I'm a servant leader. That was something that was ingrained in me. I to serve. That's why I raised my hand to take on leadership, because I wanted to serve. I wanted to make a difference, a positive difference in my world, in my community, and in my industry. And with that also comes not a commitment only to the people you want to serve, but it's also a commitment to self.
Thank you for joining us today. Please be sure to like and subscribe wherever you are watching this right now.
So I realized that me not being true, being frustrated, and yet expecting the good outcome and work from the other people, it's just that's cognitive dissonance. That's the thing about going crazy, where you have two expectations and you cannot fulfill them. um, I realized that I couldn't be somebody else. I didn't feel right about just processes and systems. I didn't feel right to operate in a place where it didn't have standards. I didn't feel right about ignoring the humanity that even comes from the workers, the people. Like, you know, like you talked about tiredness, you talked about exhaustion, and it's a real thing. Putting goals that we had really no basis. Like, how do you just come up with that goal? Just pulled out that number from nowhere because it sounds good, because somebody else did it. Oh, then we should try it too, which can work for a time, but it can't work all the time, right? You got to look at your capabilities, capacity, all those things. And for me, I realized I couldn't find the answers in myself, and I needed a coach. And a coach really gave me that arena. And that's why I do what I do as well. I serve as an executive coach. But you're right. You can't necessarily go to the leadership because, yeah, if and I've heard this in industries, you know, any sign of weakness or something else, it opens up the space for somebody. So you don't feel safe. And if you talk to the direct reports, it may take your expression of some ideas as a command, and they go off and do it. And it's like, no, we weren't supposed to be doing it. And that's happened to me too. So I completely understand. It could be, even if you talk to the direct people, it could just become a vent session. And now you're carrying even more than before, because now there's all of these things. So for me, coaching was a key factor for me, my executive coach, in being able to have that safe arena and eventually make that safe space for everybody, so that we, because we, those discussions need to happen with both your upline and your direct line and your sideline. I mean, they need to happen, but the environment also needs to be nurtured and created to do so in a coaching relationship. Not only does it serve to learn what it's like to be in that environment, but also to be able to then recreate it in an environment with the people that you serve with. Oh no, all that happened too. Coaching was no, I read a lot of books. But that's the thing. It's like, you know, you can only ingest so much. And even as you ingest, you know, and I mean, like right now, you're in this content because you ingest knowledge without application doesn't make a change. I mean, the fact that we have knowledge doesn't mean that we have now better results just because I have this knowledge. I need to be able to apply that knowledge. So a workshop helped me work through some of those things. Like, okay, let me, what exactly am I doing? So sometimes actually for me, a workshop came before. It was because I was looking for solutions, that I heard this one great amazing guy talking from he was a keynote, and he was a black belt. And that's the first time I was introduced to Six Sigma, and I knew I had to have a conversation with him from that. So, but it started because I was going through a workshop. What did I need? You know, I needed ideas. There's points you know you need something, you don't know what you need. So workshops, forums, conferences help for that. But then there's the work. Then there's the application. And if I knew the answer and I knew how to do it, I would have done it by now. I would have done it by then. There wasn't like because it was a lack of desire, or because, oh, let's just wait and see. I couldn't afford to wait and see. And a coach, that particular, because I hired that gentleman, really walked it out with me, and not necessarily because he gave me the answers, but because he gave me an opportunity and an open forum for me to explore my answers, to be curious about some of the questions and some of the solutions I was thinking about. Yes. Yes. And I would say that too, Michael, because one thing was doing that in business, but I would say like that's why I said, I'm still, I just it's almost like a recent, almost aha moment, because I think there's yet another layer as you are going forward is, and really being okay with embracing the entirety of who you are. And I do believe that does take time and a certain level of maturity and really working at it. And we make it harder than it is. You really like, I mean, like, what's the other option? Not accept myself? Like, I'm stuck in this body, in this very, you know what I mean? So, what's the other option? But it's a very simple thing. But you're absolutely right what you said, like, where society tells us what we should do, like, be, admire, or pursue, and all those things. And when you're able to really put that noise aside and listen and understand and be content with who you are, with accept your desires, accept your what you like, accept the way that you do it, accept and embrace those things and grow those things, because once we acknowledge them, then it's on us to be able to develop them, not only embracing them but growing them. Mhm. Oh, so I think some of the changes came not because I wanted to explain, but because people needed to have conversations with me. But there did come a point where once once I understood what needed to happen, and once I really understood that as a leader goes first. The what I had to do is ask for forgiveness. That was plain and simple. I literally I sat down, I had my group around the table, and I asked for forgiveness because I realized where we were going, and mean it. It wasn't just like, oh, we're gonna get this out, and now so in other news, let's go on. It wasn't like that at all. But really being genuine. One of the things in Six Sigma, and not because I have become recently there, but we had already gone through all this, but it's what we call the current status state, where you talk about how things are currently. What I realized that you can talk about things that how they are currently, but if you don't have also the environment in which you discuss those, it can become a very much a blame, a blame situation, right? Well, it's because of this, it's because of that, it's all of these things, and we're really just starting this blame game instead of like putting in a context of this is where we're at, in the hope, injected with hope, so that we can come through solutions beyond that. And that's where I had failed. I had failed thinking just processes and systems, new technology, we're going to solve these things so that we can move on to other greater things, right? Move on to the other part of what business does, and not realizing that they cannot be one outside of the other. They have to be in conjunction. And that was part of what I had to ask for forgiveness. And I couldn't inject hope and inject love and inject care to people I didn't know. You just can't. Like you just, you can't just turn on a recorder and you have on hope, love, and all this. You had to know the people, and that was part of what I had to be humble about. It's like, and ask for forgiveness, that I needed to know who they were, for who, like the person, not what they did, not what role they served, which I needed to know that as well, but also what was beyond that, right? I mean, why were they around the table? What was it that we were looking at? What did they envision themselves? How did they envision themselves in the business, and moving from there, really know who is at my side in the work that we're doing. know? Yeah. Um, yeah. No, it's hard. I'm not gonna deny it. It's hard. Not everybody's open. I mean, some people will take the opportunity when you're vulnerable to hit you right in the heart, right? Because your heart is open, you're vulnerable, and they'll throw this fear. It does happen. It has happened. I'm not gonna say like, oh, everybody just comes around and kumbaya and we're all good. No, not everybody's open to change, even good positive change. Not everybody can take a vulnerable, open leader. They don't want that. They want a rigid command because that also relieves them of responsibility. If I don't have ownership and I'm just do what I'm told, I don't have to have ownership. So I also had that. Just people that I don't want to think it through, just tell me what to do. And not because they're all bought onto the vision, because they absolutely, if it goes wrong, it's on you. And I've had that too. And it comes with leadership. Leadership is not a input output. If I'm good to people, necessarily they're all gonna be good to me. No, not everybody's gonna give me. It's not like tit for tat. Either way, you have to make a lot of deposits as a leader, and it's hard being a leader. And one of the things that my my mentor John Maxwell says is, if you're getting kicked in the rear, it's because you're in the front. Yeah, you're gonna get kicked out. So it is painful, and it can be exhausting. And yes, that there has to be a safety net where you can talk about these things. Not all things come out. I mean, change, good or bad. Some are going to reject it. Some are going to accept it. You have to be confident and strong in who you are, in your own identity of who you are as a leader. I mean, that's why I believe in alignment, internal alignment, and also alignment for what you're doing for the organization, because it's going to take courage. It's going to take courage to be vulnerable. It's going to take courage to love people. It's going to take courage to care for people. And that looks in different ways. It doesn't mean that I'm going to give you a pass on things. It means that we're going to have a talk, and we may have to put more guardrails, because I do love you, because I do want us to be successful. And that's going to be an uncomfortable conversation. Hmm. Yeah. So that's absolutely right. So prioritizing is the first thing, right? I mean, you gotta set your priorities. And what is priority? We have this idea that success maybe just be a straight arrow. It's just like a staircase going, just up, 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 and it's not. It's like more like going like this. This is like a whole matrix of what success may look like. So, but for that you need priorities. So one of the things what I do when I work with leaders is we look at all areas of their lives, right? I mean, because you're not just what you do, you're not just your skill, you're not just your output in a business. Nobody is, and that starts with the leader. When the leader is able to see that, and if you notice, when you have a cold, how is your decision making at that day? Not so good, right? I mean, it affects you. So physical affects your cognitive system, right? If you just had a bad scare with maybe a child that got hurt, and now you go into the business, you're running behind, although everything may have been okay at work and everything's aligned and everyone's happy and all things, you're maybe a bit more on edge. You may not, people may talk to you and you really can't hear because your mind is somewhere else. So you also understand that emotional situations will even impact your physical things. Even if I'm physically here, you may have heard it, I'm physically here, but mentally I'm not. you know, because of things that happen. So as a leader, is being aware of that. So that's where the emotional intelligence comes in. As a leader, is understanding that priorities are not just priorities for the output and the performance that you need to do, but also priorities in the emotional intelligence and the health, and your systematic health, as far as physically, emotionally, spiritually. You can't, you know, require more of somebody who's already exhausted. You need to pause. So that is one of the other parts. And it makes no sense, right? It makes no sense. Like, we're going super fast. All of these things are coming at us. How can we possibly pause? Well, think about even a race car, right? That's going perfectly well. Everything's aligned. They need to pause. They need to pull over. Otherwise, an accident is going to happen. One of their tires is going to explode if they don't change them. They're, all the check engine, because they've been going really hard. They need to be checked to make sure that nothing goes bad. So it's a combination of both the car, the race car, and also the driver. So the same thing. You need to pause, even when things are going great. When things are not going great, there needs to be that pause. There needs to be a systems check of everything, not just the bottom line, emotional intelligence, the what we call the culture, right? Like, in a sense, the culture. What is the temperature in the organization? And for my leaders, that's what I do. I mean, we do check on every area of their lives, because we know that, one, again, a cold has nothing to do with, was my leader clear in what I had to do today. Yet my cold is going to affect how I perform. So it's the same thing, and I'm just using a cold as an example, but it could be anything. It could be anything else that is going there. I mean, exhaustion in itself. I mean, it has been declared some one of the areas that causes extreme strain in everything else, even mental illness. So we have to, again, prioritize. Where does my attention need to go to at this moment? At this moment, my attention may need to go to profits because we're running out of money quick. But if that is taken care of and my health is going bad, it's not a problem. I need to give myself grace that I need to put my time in my health right now. And I don't need to put in I don't need to also giving the same amount of time to my profit income margin as I need to do to my health. Like, no, I need to put that, I need to decrease on that so I can increase in the health part. And being gracious with yourself for doing that. Yeah, but think about it. I mean, if that's the case, if you don't have your health, you can't do anything. If you're dead, you're dead. Talking for somebody who's gone through heart disease. I mean, I haven't gone through that. I remember times, again, as a kid, where I couldn't breathe, where my heart was going super fast. It was going erratic, and I couldn't eat the very sustenance that I needed. I couldn't drink. I mean, it was very hard. I mean, I had to make myself forget making a decision. Just a lot of those things. You just gotta realize when you're in that time. You gotta. It was hard. I literally had to do a pause and a stop just to get everything regulated, so I can go back to trying to have some sort of normalcy in my life. But again, one of my key things, I mean, that's why my company is called Heartnomics, is because as I was going into leadership, you're absolutely right. Like, I have to take care of my health, take care of my employees, take care of my business, take care of the vision, take care of whatever the compliance I have to do with anything from the outside, changing economics, changing technology, integrating, making sure my family's well, paying everybody's bills, making sure their families are getting paid, insurance, all of these things. Absolutely, they take a wear and tear on you. And I was feeling the same effects doing that as an adult with no heart disease as I was as a kid with heart disease, which I can tell you, the strain that it does in your body, it's legit. It's real. having gone through 2 heart attacks, yes, there have been times in my leadership journey where they have felt exactly like that. When you feel like, and you may have heard it from people, when you feel like the floor has been taken from under you, when there has been even business partners that haven't done the end of the deal, when there have been clients that you thought were going to come in and you made all this rearrangements and expectations and it didn't come through, that completely just take the breath out of you as a leader, as a business. And there has to be something greater, and that greater, you that is one responsibility that you do have as a leader. There has to be purpose in what you do. There has to be purpose in the business, in the services that you do, because that honestly, in those times, because those times will come. And it may be not just a time, it may be a season, which is many weeks, many months, even perhaps a year. Like we talk about developmental part, like in a kid, we talk about years of toddlerhood. It's not just 1 year of toddlerhood, it's years. Teenage years is many years. So it may be a season. But understanding that, in having to be crystal clear in your purpose as a human being and in your purpose as an organization. And of course, I do believe in divine help as well from God to know that to take you through those moments. But it is a number one because you're not ready. I mean, we're not ready. You can't get ready for everything that happens. I can tell you, nobody knows when they're going to get that health diagnosis, that one health diagnosis that might change your life. Nobody knows when they're going to get that one notice of compliant things that they have to do in their business that they honestly don't have the capital to do. No, it could be that one thing. So you must be grounded in those things that matter, starting with your purpose. Mm. Well, I think first of all is what you just said. Honestly, knowing, acknowledging that you do have a purpose and that your purpose may not necessarily be the purpose that other people are seeing or they're expecting or what society says. So that your purpose, you need to be clear on your purpose, and it doesn't mean pleasing everybody with what your purpose is. So that's the first one. It's acknowledging that you have been giving a purpose, you have been giving a divine purpose. There are skills that you have. There's skills that you going back to even like as a child, right? I mean, if you think about like the purest of ways when we start expressing ourselves, desires, dreams. That's what we talk about. Even dream, dream again. Those things, they're keys to your purpose. Things that become easy to you. Things that people recognize that you do well. That's part of it. It's not all of it. It's not just the skill that you have, but it's also the desires, what really fulfills you. It's the some of them are some things you might be really good at because you acquired them through, you developed them. Other ones may be good because hey, they were innately inside of you. So understand those, right? Understanding those desires, understanding those things, and even looking at the patterns. One of the things that I realized too, as I've been working with more and more leaders and understanding the future, right? Because this is where most people get uncertain. This is the uncertainty. Like, I don't know, yeah, everything's changing so fast. The future is coming at us. Like things that we didn't expect last year, or we expect to happen in 5 years, are happening in 1 year. So there's a lot of uncertainty that is going on with that, and really the question around purpose and meaning, because we understand that top performers are also performers that have meaning to the work that they do. Meaning comes from knowing the purpose, right? Understanding the purpose that you have. So looking at the pattern, that's cool. Like, okay, so you went to the university, you went to get the degree. Maybe the degree does not doing what you expected it to do or what you thought it was going to get you, but what was it that why did you get that degree? Why what were you expecting? How were you expecting to serve with that degree? Because that will also give you a clue. Well, maybe I got into the humanities because I really wanted to work with people. Maybe that job or that role is not there anymore, but you can still, are there other ways that you can still work with people? Are there other ways that you can still do that, that repurpose? And that's where innovation comes in. Innovation is not that you created something new, it's just applying what you have in a different way. Sometimes we get stuck because we lost, like, okay, that was my dream job, or that was my dream position, and now like I'm completely lost. Or I know for me, initially when I started, even in college, I thought I was going to end up with one degree, and I thought I was going to be a medical student, and I took my chemistry class and I realized this ain't for me. Then I kind of lost my entire purpose. Like, what am I going to do? I had done so much in the medical things. And I'm like, I can't do this. Is there some other way that I can still work with people and help in healing and help in, doing my thing? And then that's where I found, even the social sciences. I never thought about them. I never thought about the social sciences. But again, I was following the patterns of my decisions. I was following the patterns of what that started telling me, and that's a good way I would tell somebody who's listening. What are some of those patterns that you see? Even if you may say like, "Oh, I'm not even working in a degree I got." Okay, well, what are you working in? What area does it fulfill in your life, or what area do you feel not fulfilled? Again, not fulfillment is not a bad thing. It's a signal that is telling you that it's possible for you to do that which you desire. That frustration, you need to listen and lean into what is that frustration? What is that frustration really saying? Because I'm also going to speak to your purpose. So sometimes even I say like, well, I don't know when I feel fulfilled. Well, tell me when you feel frustrated. And then we look at the opposite part. So that's another way to look at your purpose. Well, and of course, well, I do have an assessment. Just by the way, I have an assessment where people can look at that for purpose aspect. But I would say, um, talking to somebody, a lot of these times is people will tell you. Some people right away can see you, and they're like, "Oh, well, you're so good at this." Like, really? Like, well, getting around people usually helps you be able to get a clue or more stability on what your purpose is as well. Mhm. Yes. Yeah. Oh, 100%. I mean, like some of them, for example, but you may have gotten really good at that skill because maybe you really wanted to stay at a certain job. And the reason why you like that job was because maybe the leader or because of the products that you did. So that became a skill so that you can stay in an environment that you really believed in. So it's being able to like things exactly like that because I mean, I've had that. I've had it where like, I'm good with processes and systems, but let me tell you, Hannah, do you want to do processes and systems all day? No. No, I had to learn it. You know, like I said, I started with the heart. I started with like the hey, the passion. Let's talk about it. But you know what? I realized that I needed to learn processes and systems. Otherwise, I was gonna have a lot of chaos because that's what happens when you have all heart and all love and like hey, you're really caring for people and you just people, but you don't have people systems, you have chaos. But then you have only systems and processes, you have rigidity, and you have a structure that takes the soul and the life out of what you're doing. So in both cases, they're not good because one can be very fastly fractured and cause pain, and the other one is going to be chaotic and you're not really going to get ahead. So there's skills that you may have learned because you really like this part, but you know that in order for me to be able to do this, I need to learn to do that. So, so understanding even why did you learn that skill, because that also will give you a clue on what it is that you really want to do. Why did I learn to organize a closet when I hated it? what was it? Maybe because I wanted to stay at that house, I wanted to stay in that city. Maybe that's what it was. But that skill, so those are acquired skills, in versus the nurtured skills, right? Some of the skills that you currently have, and understanding that that frustration, or even the desire to want to be fulfilled, it very much is directly to your purpose. And also knowing that purpose really is something that you find out, but purpose is your gift to the world. That purpose is not for you. It's something that you do, you get to experience it, you get to have it. But purpose is really purposeful when you put it to work. It is your gift, it is your value add to this world. Hmm. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. 100. I mean, you see that, right? You see that with kids. As soon as they find something, look at this. I mean, the first one, like, you want to show it. You want to share. When there's something good and something like you've done, you want to share it with somebody. That's a natural thing. Unnatural is when you start like, no, I'm just gonna keep it to myself, and then you start like, oh, but you want to show if somebody really like you, when you are opening yourself up to somebody, you show them something that you created. You understand like, oh, and when they admire it and when they see it, absolutely. So that is a one key thing, and I do believe that's something that's impacting our society, is because, like you said, we loneliness is real. We're feeling alone. So guess what? We're not being vulnerable with each other, because you're not going to be vulnerable when you feel alone and nobody understands you. So vulnerability is not there. Like, guess what happens when vulnerability is not there? Well, I'm also not feeling free to operate in my purpose, because purpose is can be, right, is very personal, and it is my gift to you. And we have this also underlying currents of, what if they don't like it, this fear of rejection, which is a lot of times why we are afraid to even acknowledge our purpose, or even be intentional in it, because we're also at the same time afraid that we may be rejected. That's why it has to start with me. When I embrace, which are the questions that you were asking before, when did that change? When did it change for me? Is when I started embracing, right? I had to be grounded in who I was. I had to be grounded in my purpose, because not everybody's gonna like it. Not everybody's gonna like it the way that I think it should like it. Doesn't mean that there's something wrong. It's just we don't walk with everybody. That's why we look for alignment. Like that's what we're looking for. I mean, that's why different things apply to different places, different seasons. Not because there's something wrong with that, not because of anything else. It's just it doesn't fit. Like, I have a favorite coat. I wear it right now when it's cold. In the summer, I'm not gonna wear it. I didn't stop liking it. I don't like it any less. It's just not the season. It doesn't work. I'll probably go back to it when it gets winter again, but I'm not gonna use it. So, don't take it personal. It just may not be the right time and not be the right season. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. And isn't that the beautiful freedom when you're able to say that? Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, it is. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. No, and that's love. I mean, honestly, that is love because we have that clarity, and some people will go with you where you're gonna go. Some people won't, and again, it's there's nothing wrong. It's the season. It's absolutely the season. I have 5 children. They're at different ages now. Let me tell you, the way that I interact with my 21-year-old is not the same way I interact with my 5-year-old. It's not because I love him any less, not because I love him any more. It's the different. We have different goals in the house now as well. I mean, I got different goals for me because it's different raising 4 kids, all within months apart, all toddlers, than it is now having teenagers. So it is different. You know what? Some things I need, some things I don't need anymore. Some things like, hey, there was a season for that, and that is love. It is love when you're able to be free and not only be transparent and clear and genuine with where you're at the same way be clear, transparent, genuine where the company is, where the organization is, and help each other either to get a line or maybe it's not with me. And you know what? I was told this from one of my coaches is some will, some won't. So what? I mean, it's in certain things. Is it going to be the end of the world? No. Love them, but be good to them. Be right. Do right by them. The worst thing that we can do is judge people that are no longer with us, badmouth people that maybe did like they did went and pursue their own dream in a different place, and just villainize others, and that's where the problem starts coming in. That honestly is where you see the breakdown of the culture of the organization, the breakdown of societies, when we start to villainize one another because we're not walking the same direction at this point anymore. So that is something that as a leader you have the absolute um, position, authority, ability to be able to protect, save the place, and really those people that are no longer with you, especially those that are retiring, honor them, honor all your people, honor the ones that stay with you, honor the ones that go, honor them for what they've done. They were good. They were with you for a certain amount of time. Honor them. Finish well. Mm, yeah. Mhm.
One brief second away from the episode, and you know what I'm going to say. Please go hit subscribe if you haven't already and hit that notification button so you find out when our next episode comes out. Now, let's go back to the show.
Yeah, no, I mean that's true. I mean, even in goal setting, we're really are not in control of the goal, achieving the goal itself. We're in charge of the tactics, the steps that it can get to that goal. So like I want, may my goal is to be a $2 million annual revenue, but for that I can only control the daily activity income, the people that I have in my place with that, but I cannot guarantee that customers are going to pay $2 million for my services. That I cannot. So I can only control the tactics, the daily things. And that's why I even called it the mini shifts, right? The mini shifts that we have to do as we're adapting. And I think that's was such a good distinction, Michael, what you just said in there, because a lot of times we live defeated or anxious lives trying to control the outcome, and we can't. So fighting to control something that we're not meant to control, that it's not in is as a leader, it's not the definition of who you are. You can only do what you can do. So the question is, am I doing, if that is my goal, am I do I have the right tactics into place to make sure that this goal, we're doing everything possible for this goal to come to reality. Well, I would love for y'all to go to heartnomics.com, and that's www.heart, just like in the heart, HEARTNOMICS.com. That's my website, and there you can find resources. One of them is alignment assessment there for both organizations and individuals. Also, LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn, so you want to connect with me, follow me there. That would be awesome as well. Thank you. Well, for those of you, we talked a lot about different things. I appreciate it, Michael. It was really good. It was really good in depth. So for my leaders out there, I think one of the main things is being okay with also not being okay. Because when we acknowledge something, is when we are then ready to do something about it, and to really take those frustrations as signals. Like even what you just said, Michael, failures are not really failures when we're learning from them, right? I mean, they're being curious. So and I believe a good healthy leader is one that is curious, one that acknowledges, one that is aware, but one that is able to get out there, but understanding that you're not a leader unless you got people. So people skills. Don't fight the isolation. Stay connected, get into those communities, get with coaches, continue listening to podcasts like this, continue to be able to grow yourself and really live out the fullness of your life. Oh, you're quite welcome. Thanks for having me.